was 40 degrees today, which for Florida, that's like -12. We got people working on our pool, and they came out like dressed like they're gonna go skiing for the most part. Couple people get in here. All right, we got somebody's AI note taker. That's good. All right, we'll get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our December office hours. Today, we're going to go through appointment type workflows. And these are, not the sexiest thing in the world, right? Appointment type workflows. I know that's what gets me going in the morning. But it is actually an underutilized tool within the TimeZest tool set. And something that's very important, I think, for everybody to be aware of. Out of the box, TimeZest comes pretty functional. We give you some templated stuff that'll work, right? But the work of making it work better, right? Making the rate at which people respond to your appointment requests, and making it differentiated to your MSP and representing your secret sauce is very much in the process of customizing these workflows. And so today Joe's going to go through some best practices with workflows. As always, feel free to submit your questions and we will answer them either along the way or at the end. So without further ado, Joe, take us away.
Yeah, so just kind of to bounce off of that, like the primary reason I wanted to choose workflows for this month is we have a lot of new features that, as they come out, we can do webinars on those new features and talk about things. But we have new people coming, new customers coming in that may not have heard about features we released in the past. And workflows we actually released about 2 years ago. And that was about the last time we did an actual designated or devoted webinar to workflows. So I wanted to kind of revisit it, open that door. It is not only a useful tool, but it's also a creative tool, right? So you can take and make TimeZest work much more how you really want it to work for your business, and add some functionality outside of what we provide right out of the box. So like Seth mentioned, this is a prime opportunity for you to ask questions and engage. Anything that's not related to workflows, we'll pick up at the end and just answer any questions, but please submit those to chat or the Q&A, and we'll get going here. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's do this. And I really want to make sure to kind of give you guys some ideas on ways to integrate workflows into your business. And so I hope you all can see this. Are we good, Seth and Craig? Are we sharing the right screen here? Perfect.
Yeah. So, some of the usual Zoom degradation of screen capture as always, but yeah, you get the main gist.
So workflows are a part of the appointment types. So when you open up an appointment type, you come to this dashboard here, and let's see if we can find one that's not already in workflow. Nope, so that one. I know the guys have switched most of these. So we have two configurations. We have classic configuration, and then we have workflow mode here. We'll just come down here and take a look. So what it does is it breaks down each action that TimeZest is taking. And when you set up your appointment type or create a new one, it's in this classic configuration, which looks all like this first section here, but there's more to it, right? And when you convert over, it's actually taking all your settings that you had set up in that classic mode and converting them over to workflow mode. Now, a little thing to be aware of is when you convert an appointment type to workflow mode, you cannot convert back to the classic configuration. So I always recommend just making sure that you have as much setup as possible. Specifically, the shareable URL section, I find that it can be a little bit troublesome to try to make sure you have all the appropriate actions in that mode or in workflow mode for the shareable URL. It's easier just to kind of set it up in Classic. With that said, we'll dive into this. And if I start coughing, I apologize. I've been fighting a cough and it's sitting right there under the surface. So we have triggers and actions, okay? So here we can add a trigger, which is what is the starting point, right? So we have when a client cancels their meeting, or when a specific amount of time after the end of an appointment or before the start of an appointment. So this is actually a scheduled meeting. You can add these different triggers. And then once you have it here, the system will automatically reorganize things for you. But you're able to add actions then within that trigger, okay? Now, I specifically chose this trigger because I wanted to show you guys a popular or a recommended trigger to actually add inside your appointment types. So you could say 1 hour or 30 minutes or whatever duration you want. We're going to send an email, and we've created an email in the email settings, right? And so we can use this and we can select this email that we've built out called appointment reminder. So we've built out this custom email that says, hey, don't forget you have an upcoming meeting. Here's the button to reschedule if you need to, or you can even include a button to join like an online meeting, etc. And so we can send this to the client and any invited guest. So anybody they have invited as well through our system. We can also create another template that's more internal facing and send that to your scheduled resource, so your tech. So we can create, even in the same trigger, we can just put a second one that says, send an email to the tech, right? So you could have a second one that's a reminder that's internal, and you could send that to them, okay? And save. And so 60 minutes before both your tech and your customer are receiving an email reminding them that they have an upcoming meeting. So that's just a use case example. But you can also come in here, ones that are pre-built, and you can edit them. So within this note that we're writing inside the ticket, when a meeting is requested, you can come in here and add more specifics. And there are display conditions that you can use to make it even more custom. We do have, if you can kind of see here, see if I can zoom in a little bit, we have these tokens. So if you would like, you can do shift and bracket, and it will pull up a list of tokens to smart fill in the information that you would like to put in there, okay? So some other things to kind of keep in mind are we talked about, doing this email to your customers before the start of a meeting. You can actually send one, there's a trigger, like I mentioned, at the end of an appointment time. So we don't actually know if your meeting took place, but if you wanted, you could send an email that is custom, you've built out, that maybe has a link to a survey or has follow-up instructions that you've put together that are canned messaging. And so there's some different ways to go about that, right? Another thing that is kind of a more recommended trigger to add is if you come all the way down to the bottom, is when you'll start seeing things like the no response timing and the reminders, okay? And best practice is to have your reminders go off before your no response timing. And this is a little aggressive, so we're going to change that here, and this will show you how it will auto shift its position within the workflow, okay? So you're not actually able to control where something happens in the workflow, just that it is happening. And TimesUs is going to auto adjust where it fits into the process and the timing of things. So here you can see we have 2 hours have elapsed, and the client hasn't scheduled their meeting, which is still pretty aggressive. But what we have here is this action called skip all actions in this trigger when the associated ticket is closed. So this is great to add actually in your no response workflow trigger here. So after 4 days have elapsed is the trigger. The action is update the ticket to no response status, right? So we've set up these preset statuses. By default, we don't include this skip all actions if the trigger is closed. So I do recommend adding that one if you would like. So you can come in, and what this does is it has TimesUs look and say, okay, has the ticket been closed while there's still this open invitation to the customer to schedule? And it would just skip sending the reminder or skip updating the ticket status to no response. So this is something that we saw kind of come into support chat saying, hey, you know, our guys have closed the ticket, but our ticket has reopened and now is in the no response status, or it's still sending reminders to the customer saying they need to schedule, but we've actually closed the ticket. So that's something that you can put in play to kind of help with that. Another thing that was more newly released, which I actually had to confirm this morning, I'm like, is this available for everyone? Is they're actually able to close this scheduling request now. So this is great if you want to say, okay, we've tried reaching out. They haven't responded. We've reached out multiple times. And I do recommend having at least 2 reminders. And in workflow mode, you can add as many as you want. So you can remind them at 24 hours and 48 hours and, you know, day 3, day 4, whatever you want to do. But at the end of that, there has to be some sort of follow-up action if they never schedule their meeting, right? So you can say, okay, after 4 days, we're going to change the status to no response. We're going to add a note in the ticket saying they never responded, and then we're going to shut down the TimesUs scheduling request. And so when you open up an action, it actually has a description in here of what's happening, and the action details tell you exactly what this does, so you can get some information. We've tried to be really clear about providing details so you can look at it and really get a clear picture of what is this actually going to do for me, okay? So that's a great one that you might want to put in play. Now, this isn't saying it's closing the ticket, it's just closing the invite to the customer that is asking them to schedule. It also means that they can't reschedule or cancel. So let's say you put this in, you know, if, where would that fit well? You could put it in, you know, after a reminder email to the customer. So what you could do is say, okay, 30 minutes before the scheduled meeting, you can put that action in there, which makes it so they're not able to reschedule or cancel the meeting, right? So things like that. So it's locked in, okay? Other things that might be of value. If you've looked at using TimeZest outside of your help desk and maybe looked at using it for your sales team, we do have an action to create an opportunity in your PSA. So you can say, find or create an opportunity in ConnectWise when this meeting is scheduled. So if you're using this in conjunction with maybe shareable URLs, where you can send out a URL to someone to have them schedule the meeting, and then it can create a new ticket or an activity in your on your calendar, and then create an opportunity that can be worked for that meeting that is specific to sales, right? Um, I feel like that's kind of a good spot. Any questions? Anyone have anything? Are you using workflows in your system? Do you have any recommendations on how you're using it in your business? The chat
We'll
should
give
be
some,
open.
yeah, we'll give some time for people to respond there. But Joe, I mean, this was like watching Michael Jordan in the 1997 finals during the flu game. I mean, apparently it wasn't a flu, as the legend tells it. It was a bad pizza. You got some food poisoning, but I know you've just been super sick over the past week, so we really appreciate you being able to come on
Yeah,
and
of
do this
course.
for us.
Yeah. Um, I think that this is a kind of something that needs to be, used more often. I always try to tell people, you can come in and just use TimeZest and set up the basics and set it and forget it. But I don't want you to, right? I want you to get the most out of it. I want you to get the most out of your investment. And so coming in and finding ways and not being afraid of this is really important to me. And so I've seen a lot of people come in here and they're looking at the classic configuration and they're like, oh, that's fine. And as soon as they take a look at workflows, it's like their brain overwhelms and they don't want to, they don't want to touch it because they're worried they're going to mess something up. So I want to challenge you to come in here, find ways to really make the most out of it. I feel like the meeting reminders are fantastic. Um, and you can come in and make these adjustments. And if you feel like something's not working, you can reach out to chat. Craig, who's on as a panelist today, he watches chat for us and he can help you diagnose what might be missing. But something to keep in mind, I wanted to show you guys here, and Craig actually just shared this, but when you go to the Help Center, and actually let me start at the beginning here. If you come down here to workflows, you can see we have 52 articles on workflows. So we've put a lot of time and energy to share this with you. And you can actually find different tutorials here. So you can come in and find, adding a reminder to your appointment. So this actually just sends a reminder to your tech. And then here's the tutorial of the topic I was talking about earlier, which is reminding your clients of a booked appointment. We do go through and have workflow actions and try to break it down by PSA as well. So there's a lot in here that you can come and find. An afterthought here is also if you have the Microsoft Teams messaging integration put together, you can come in here and have it send a message to a Teams chat channel that maybe your dispatcher or your service manager watch. And you can also have it send your technicians a chat message directly, right? So it can send your user a message that says, hey, don't forget you have a meeting coming up in 10 minutes, right? And you get to decide the verbiage of that as well as the time, the time span there of when, how close to the meeting. We want to set your team up for success as much as possible. So, trying to remind them, maybe they get an email when they get scheduled, but then they get a chat message before. And thinking of putting in multiples is great as well. So if it's an on-site appointment or a QBR, maybe you want an alert to go out an hour before saying, hey, you have an upcoming on-site in an hour, and then you can say, okay, you have about 10 minutes, right? So those are some ways to kind of just squeeze more out of it. Automation is great to help support your team and really staying on task and getting things moving along. So let's see. I got my notes here. I think do you have any others, Seth, that you've seen, or any questions? Anything else you'd like me to share today?
No questions from the chat. I think that was a really good rundown. Again, if you're watching this, I really encourage you to give this a try. As we mentioned, right, tons of documentation on this, pretty self-explanatory. But if you get in trouble, or it's not making sense, again, I really emphasize reach out to us. We want to make sure you know how to use this stuff. Support is not just there for when things are broken. We want to make sure that you're using this as effectively as you can as an MSP. That's what really makes us, different from the other scheduling apps. We can actually use MSP in a sentence, and we're very comfortable with helping you make workflows that work for MSPs and work for their clients. So, reach out if you have any problems with that at all. A couple housekeeping items. We'll have another one even in January. We'll be releasing over the next month some calendar view functionality, and you're going to get some emails about that. Take a look out for that. We're not turning it all on at once because we have the wisdom of years of experience with this sort of thing. No one should ever turn anything all at once, but it also just has to do with some back-end caching things that we want to do responsibly and cleverly. So you'll be getting that. It's another thing. Again, if you don't know how to use it, reach out, but we'll be sending along a lot of instructions as well. So very excited to get that out the door. And that will definitely be next month's topic. Otherwise, if you want to share this will be on YouTube by tomorrow. YouTube.com/@TimeZest is where you can find our YouTube channel. All right.
Any last questions or anything that maybe isn't related to workflow that we can cover for you guys? Because this is the office hours. The whole intention here is you guys are able to engage with us and maybe get a quick question answered. If you would like me to show anything, we'll give it just 2 minutes here and then let you guys have the rest of your day back. Nothing? You're all quiet today? All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you next month. Yeah.